Hi and welcome to The Print. My name is Karanjeet Kaur. I'm a writer and an editor. Let's talk today about enforced vegetarianism in Mumbai's societies. Dear Mumbai, don't take this the wrong way. As a person who loves you deeply, I say this with the best intention. Behind your buff cosmopolitan chest hides a heart pulsing with prejudice. Your tagline of India's most open, diverse city, where anyone can make it regardless of background, has always concealed a more complicated reality. The lattice work of your neighborhoods represents much deeper divides, like entrenched notions of belonging, parochial purity, and caste social hierarchy. In Ghatkopar's Sambhav Darshan Cooperative Housing Society, a Marathi resident recently alleged that his Gujarati neighbor had objected to his non-vegetarian lifestyle. According to Ram Ringe, the neighbor had reportedly said, "You Marathi people are dirty. You eat fish and meat." According to reports, the society has only 4 Marathi families among a predominantly Gujarati, Marwari, and Jain population. Things reached a fever pitch when the police and Maharashtra Navnirman Sena got involved. A video featuring MNS leader Raj Parte aggressively scolding the society's Gujarati residents in unprintable language surfaced a few days ago. Anybody can live and work in Mumbai, but we will not tolerate insults towards Marathi people for their food choices. Parte is heard saying, "A case of the worst person you know," making a great point. Now, the Ghatkopar incident is a glaring floodlight on Mumbai's intersecting axes of bigotry that control who belongs where. Across numerous upscale neighborhoods like Villeparle, Malabar Hill, and Valkeshwar, vegetarian-only enclaves thrive with formal and informal mechanisms of enforcement. Security guards are instructed to check food delivery parcels at the gate. Neighbors have been known to inspect your trash if they suspect you of consuming non-vegetarian food in the confines of your own house. A report on the subject from Outlook magazine, titled "Food Apartheid, Non-Vegetarians Not Allowed," cites the example of a Maharashtrian woman whose chawl underwent redevelopment. She felt pressured into telling the society's new managing committee, comprising vegetarian Gujaratis, Jains, and Marwadis, that her family was also vegetarian. The resident was forced to smuggle non-veg food into the building and light incense to ward off any attention. Vegetarian supremacy extends beyond residential buildings. Take the stretch from Nepean Road to Chowpatty, where restaurants serving non-vegetarian food have been historically absent or restricted. In Cosmopolis, a 2004 documentary directed by Paromita Vora, restaurant owner Sanjay Narang recalled facing pickets, hoardings, and harassment when attempting to run Roti, a non-vegetarian establishment in Malabar Hill. Narang recounted in the film that people at the top of the restaurant would throw things on customers. Other reports speak of customers' cars getting keyed. The restaurant had to get police protection. Narang said that ultimately, the residents weren't able to stop them, but he chose to close shop because continuing to do business there became an ordeal, which, if you think about it, is kind of the same thing. Can you really impose vegetarianism on a city whose summer air is scented by the aroma of drying fish? Food purity is obviously a cover for a cornucopia of biases. The city's housing market is institutionalized discrimination, and where you get to live is determined not by your ability to pay rent, but by several other aspects of your lifestyle. Non-vegetarian? Rejected. Minority? Never. Unattached man or woman? Close the door on your way out. Pet parent? Try Pune. In a stratified city, power is encoded into space. Even Bollywood stars are humbled by Mumbai's housing market. Actors Saif Ali Khan and Imran Hashmi have both spoken about being unable to rent in certain parts of the city. Remember Lakshmi Pandit? In 2004, Pandit had to give up her Miss India crown because she had misrepresented her marital status on the lease agreement on the one-room kitchen that she shared with a male model. A few years ago, when one of my 2 flatmates moved out of an apartment, the broker called to dole out some practical advice to us. Just remember one thing, he said. Find anyone, but don't bring in a Muslim flatmate. For Mumbai's Muslims, the housing market operates as a gauntlet of rejection. Brokers often openly admit that most landlords refuse Muslim tenants outright, based on excuses as flimsy as education levels to terrorism. When the city's Muslims inevitably find themselves pushed towards ghettos, they are doubly stereotyped. Muslim women have it the hardest, but it's no cakewalk for unattached women either. In Shikha Makan's 2016 documentary, Bachelor Girls, women spoke about facing moral policing, arbitrary curfews, prohibitions on male visitors, and constant, exhausting scrutiny from neighbors. The filmmaker had said in an interview, housing discrimination is a very big problem across categories, and gender is common to all subsets. The situation speaks volumes about the way we treat people, about who is more powerful in the smaller ambits of society, in this case, the Housing Society Secretary or Committee. In the same way, single men navigate a different but related set of obstacles. Now, all these divisions hark back to Bombay of the 18th and 19th centuries. Kurush F. Dalal, who is an archaeologist, historian, and food anthropologist, recalls a time when each community would live in its own ghetto. It didn't matter if these ghettos were right next to each other, because there was no commensality between them. Once the city's high-rises developed, communities began to mix. Dalal told me in an interview, you often didn't know who was living next door. The shift, according to Dalal, emerged from two concurrent forces, right-wing ultranationalism and the explosion of Mumbai's middle class in the 1990s. As people from smaller towns and villages gained economic mobility, they brought with them values from more homogeneous communities, particularly notions of vegetarian sanctity. This transformation hardened existing divisions into something more rigid and exclusionary. Dalal said, there is now an enormous new morality. The government has said that it is okay to discriminate based on food preferences within housing societies. I just feel very sad about this. Everybody should respect the choices others make. Eat and let eat. The banality of the bigotry pervading Mumbai is what makes it most terrifying. Its messy, vibrant plurality once made Mumbai great, but the city now seems extraordinarily comfortable with its rejections. The polite fiction of compatibility concerns hides a very real system of exclusion, and no one is really welcome.